Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Mr. Jeroen Corthout. How are you, Jeroen?
I'm good. How are you, Andrew?
Nice to see you on this bright and sunny day. Well, hopefully it's bright and sunny where you are.
It's not bright and sunny here, but it's okay. If it's bright and sunny for you, I'm happy.
So, I know it's taken a bit of time to get us in this show, but I'm glad you're here now, so thanks for coming. And I suppose one of the first things that we normally do on the G&T Sessions podcast is actually ask that penultimate question. What gets you up in the morning?
Right now, I must say it's usually a run or a workout. It really helps me to get up in the sense that it's not like I get out of bed and I'm all lazy and I drag myself to the shower or something. I more drag myself to my running clothes and then I put them on and then I just go running.
Okay.
And I must say that changes my my morning energy. But that's not maybe what you were asking. If you're asking.
No, I ask an open question. I've got so many different answers over the last few years. It's quite diverse. So don't feel like I'm putting you in a corner or anything like that.
Yeah, I know. But if it's about motivation, it's mostly the motivation of building something. And that can be different every day. Sometimes that's releasing our newest set of features like today. Sometimes that is writing an awesome blog article, which I know is going to help people. Sometimes that means looking for another office. Sometimes that is hiring a new team member. But always like taking that next step, making progress, building something nicer for our customer base, for our team. That's what motivates me.
And one other question I suppose related to that is what time do you get up? Is there a certain time that you get up in the morning?
Yeah,
are you an early bird or?
No, 7:30.
7:30. So that's 6:30 in London. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't.
For you, that's early, but for me, it's fine. Yeah.
Well, actually, I was up at 4 a.m. this morning, so that's another.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You're doing the 5 o'clock morning thing or something?
No. I'm just
morning.
There's all these different morning routines that we're all supposed to adapt into our own world, aren't we? So, but I'm doing some writing at the moment. So I'm doing writing every day. So something that's going to come out a bit later. But trying to get my discipline in about doing that, and then doing my exercise like you mentioned as well. So I think that's also a good discipline.
Do you go to bed really early as well then, or you just don't sleep?
Varies between 9:30 and 12 midday. Well, not 12 midday. No, 12 midnight. Yeah.
Wow, that is a huge variance.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to be earlier, so I actually do get at least a block of time in.
Yeah.
But the current record, by the way, is Chris in Singapore, who came on the podcast a while ago. He's 3:30 a.m. in Singapore.
Wow.
But he goes cycling. He goes cycling around Singapore, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Before the traffic starts.
Oh, I like to get my sleep in. So otherwise, I'd be on board with getting up earlier. But right now, I go to sleep at 11. At the bed at 11, and at 7:30 I get up, and then I get a good amount of sleep, which is important because I'm more productive the whole day in then.
So it sounds like you work until quite late at night. Is that because of the time zone kind of things you're working on or something? Or?
No, I don't work that late. No, it's maybe until 7:30 most days. After that, I eat and I read a book or something and sort of enjoy the evening.
Right. Cool. So yeah, I suppose it links to kind of, I know you start to mention you start to tease the audience about some of the things that you are doing in your daily life. But for the benefit of the audience, could you explain a little bit about what you do, what projects you've got on at the moment, what you're working on?
Yeah.
How you're changing the world?
You mean business-wise, right? Yeah. Okay. No, I'm co-founder and CEO of Salesflare. And Salesflare is a CRM, so a customer relationship management system. To make it very simple, it's basically if you would ask our customers why are you using Salesflare, they would say it's to better follow up my leads and my customers. It's to make sure that I don't forget following them up. I don't forget what we last discussed. I don't forget who I know there and what they're about and all that. I can organize myself properly. Some of your listeners might know that there's a lot of those systems out there. There's actually, if you would look on G2, it's about 700 of those systems or so.
700, really?
Yeah,
in that category. Wow.
There's a lot of choice. And those are just the ones listed on G2. I'm sure there's even more.
No, G2 Crowd, yeah.
Yeah, it's called G2 nowadays. But,
is it? Okay.
Formerly G2 Crowd, indeed. Why would we start another company then, you may ask? Actually, it was because we tried a bunch of these systems.
Okay.
And none of them really stuck with us in the sense that we just couldn't keep using them. They always required a lot of data input, and it's like basically every single thing you do, you put in there. Every single piece of data you get about a customer, you put in there. And it was so much work that we always, like at some point, slacked a little, put some less data in it. Then the system became a bit more useless. Because if you cannot find everything in there to organize yourself,
you can't. By the way, Jeroen, you can't say slacked. That triggers some other kind of CRM system in my head now.
A Salesforce, or
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, they bought Slack. Yeah, that's 30 billion or something.
Bit of loose change. So what you're saying is a trigger for you. So were you in a sales role or something before? Was a trigger for you to, go and say I'm going to solve this for salespeople? Was because you were a salesperson and you found the problem of it was just like a pain, a real big pain doing.
Yeah, actually, I was a salesperson / consultant for 4 or 5 years, working a lot with Salesforce.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mentioned them. It was for life sciences companies. We would help them digitalize their marketing and sales and put in the CRM and all that. Salesforce for these companies was a big step because they came from something even older, which is called Siebel.
Siebel, Tom Siebel, yeah.
Yeah, so they were really excited about getting on Salesforce. And for me, that was
sort of the previously they were probably very excited about getting Siebel.
Yeah,
going from pen and paper to Siebel, and then from Siebel to Salesforce, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked previous to that job. I worked at one of the first companies who rolled out Salesforce across their whole organization as a pharma company.
Okay.
It was a huge failure. Because,
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, they rolled it out quickly. They didn't really look with the different end users, let's say, not even the countries or so, how it best be implemented. They just rushed it through. And it was there really quickly, which is you could say a success, because often CRM implementations drag for years.
Right.
But in the end, nobody used it. So at some point they even came to us and said, well, we have this huge fuck up here. It's from the previous guy who did his job, obviously. And we need to solve it because nobody's using it, and just when nobody uses a CRM in a company, whether it's a really big company or a really small one, you're missing out on so many things. It's partly that sales follow-up system that I was talking about, but it's also just knowing who your customers are, beyond your accounting. It's knowing who you're in touch with, who you know where, what
it's
to discuss.
It's the heartbeat of the company, isn't it? It's like looking at your customer, voice of the customer, revenue. It's like a critical component, isn't it? Critical foundational point.
Yeah, especially for the business side of your company. I usually think about companies that have essentially two sides. The one is the one who delivers the value, which is the people building a product, delivering a service or whatever. And the other side is making sure that this gets to the right people, that people who need that product or service are sort of taken by the hand from, okay, they have an issue to solving that. So you have like delivering value, and you have the the go-to-market, whatever.
When you were just saying that, I was just thinking about the classic Larry Ellison quote. You know, the thing where he says, there's only two roles in a company: somebody who builds the software and somebody who sells the software. Everybody else is overhead. Yeah.
Building and selling. That's what I was just about to say as well.
There you got your own version of the Larry Ellison quote. You see.
Yeah. So, without going we're taking a lot of side tracks here. I saw Larry Ellison in Iron Man 2 this weekend, and I was very surprised. I don't know whether you've seen the movie, but there was both Larry Ellison in there and Elon Musk, which I found.
It's that. Yeah.
Anyways, what I was saying is that I saw this happening in that pharma company, but then it happened in many others as well. And I thought, well, corporates, you know, I always wondered why there were so many CRMs and people were spending so much money yet nobody used it.
Right.
And then
it's not just CRM. I think people have put other systems in and then not, spent a lot of money and then not got the adoption. So it's not just CRM. But I take your point.
Definitely. But then you can wonder, like, why don't people use these systems? And then I started asking people that, and people said, well, it's just like, salespeople are lazy. That's the issue.
Really? Okay.
And yeah. If you just force them. And some people even have a joke like, why is Salesforce called Salesforce? It's because you need to force salespeople to use it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. If you just force them, you take away their bonus, or you just whatever, you fire them if they don't do it, then solved.
Yeah, you make it a compliance issue.
Yeah. Which, I mean.
What you're talking about, I think, if you abstract that, is you're talking about technology adoption. You're talking about how do you, what I would call win the hearts and minds of the users, so they see, and you build it into their day job to make it. The whole point about implementing a system, to my mind, is you should make it easier for the human to operate with a system. Otherwise, why implement it? Yeah, if you can't make their world post implementation easier or more successful, then you've missed the bullseye, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few sides to it. So there's like how much work do people need to do to maintain the system? So the input side. Then there's the working with it itself, the ease of use and how easy it is to understand and to navigate, and how many clicks and all that. So the efficiency in the middle. Yeah. And then there's the output. Which if people don't get an output, they're also not going to do all the input and all that. So for the end user, it's if it's in B2B sales, it's really like the sales follow-up. If they can follow up their customers better and make more sales, then they're going to use the system. That's what it's for. If it doesn't help with that, they're not going to do it. But then if that whole output is also dependent on the input, which is really heavy, then the output is not going to happen, and it's just going to fall apart every time.
I think one of the stats I think you shared with me before when we had the call to prepare for the episode was, I think you'd done some analysis of the number of keystrokes that a sales executive or an account executive had to do. Is it with other applications and then also with Salesflare? Is it like it was like night and day? Is that right? Is that what you did as part of your design, your user experience? Is that right?
I think we did that a long time ago, and I think we still mention on our site that it's minus 70% or something.
Really? Wow.
70% less. No, I mean our ambition is actually to automate all of the keystrokes, and I think it is possible in the slightly longer run. What we do now is. So I'm jumping now from what the issue was. Maybe I'll take the in between. So why we started Salesflare is we had a software company ourselves, and then we were looking for a solution for ourselves, and we didn't really find anything that stuck for us. There was always every piece of software came with the expectation that we were going to be these people who would perfectly fill it out constantly, and we just couldn't keep up.
Right.
And now we were figuring, like, why isn't this something that automated itself, because most of the things we were inputting into the system were already somewhere else, digitally even. So it was not a matter of digitalizing the information or something. It was there. We just had to take it from there.
Right.
So, for instance, your emails are in your inbox. There's email signatures in there. There's people you're in touch with. There's meetings in your calendar with lots of info. There's calls in your phone. There's information in company databases. There's all kinds of tracking, like email tracking and web tracking. There's stuff in social media. And if you just build a system that pulls all these things together, you've automated most of what people normally input into a CRM. That was our idea, partly based on the fact that we were in a business intelligence software company at the time, so really like reporting on data and all that, pulling it together also. And we started with that idea in 2014. We immediately saw that it would be something that was not just interesting to us, but in general to companies like ours. So we sort of dropped the first company and started working on this one. Excuse me, my dog is snoring. Stopped. Okay.
You just kicked him.
Yeah, just
poor dog.
I touched her.
Okay, touched her. Okay, sorry, dog.
Yeah, and then we started Salesflare, and it took a while to build it and all, but that is in the past. We are working on this for 7 years now, and have like over 2,000 companies using the software.
Wow, fantastic!
And most of the data input is automated nowadays, but we still give people the control. At some point, we had the dream like it should be fully automated. But then some weird things start happening here and there. People lose trust. People feel like they're out of control, and that's not something you want. You
should be like your
digital
assistant rather than being your digital master.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
See, I've got a flair for strap lines, obviously. So 2,000 customers, that's impressive. So it's 7 years. So are you global? You know, I think, one of the questions I forgot to ask you was, where are you joining us from today? Whereabouts in the world are you physically?
I'm physically in Antwerp, in Belgium.
Okay.
Mentally, I'm with you in the UK.
But you see, I might not be in the UK. I might be in Hawaii or somewhere like nice like that.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, the white background is quite generic indeed.
Antwerp. Okay, so you're actually running a global software business, yeah, from Antwerp.
Yeah, I think that's weird. We also have the whole diamond industry here. We have the cocaine industry here.
You have the what? Sorry? What industry?
Cocaine.
Really? Okay. I thought you were going to say. The thing because I've been to Belgium quite a few times. The thing I'm thinking about is Eddie Merckx. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cycling. Because you know you've got a bike behind you. It's like a nice bike. What is it? A Colnaggio or a Pininfarina or something?
It's not an Eddie Merckx bike. It's a Montana. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Eddie Merckx, beer, frites, mussels. Yeah. What else?
Chocolate.
Oh, chocolate. Yeah. See, there's quite a lot of good, attractive things about Belgium and Salesflare.
And Salesflare, but we actually.
So you're in the top. You're in the top seven. Top seven.
Yeah. Well, we have quite some technology going on in Belgium. That's maybe not from the UK. You maybe don't look at it like that. But
go on. Yeah.
We are very active in biotech. At some point, there was even the focal point of Europe for everything pharma and biotech, and until the Swiss people started giving more tax breaks, I guess.
Right.
We also have a lot of IT here. We have a very big services industry, so it's not just chocolate and all that. And the port here in Antwerp is the second biggest of Europe. Hence
is it really?
Hence the cocaine and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
What
I'm saying is that it's quite a. It's not a. You know, I don't know what you call it. Would you? So in London we've got Silicon Roundabout, right?
Yeah.
In Tel Aviv, you've got Silicon Beach, yeah? Obviously, in San Francisco, you've got Silicon Valley, Palo Alto, yeah? What would you call it in Antwerp then? Or Silicon Port, maybe?
Yeah, we could do that, yeah. Nobody has coined it yet, but Silicon Port would be good. we'd be competing with Singapore, I guess.
So, I mean, it's interesting. So what you did was you found this problem, or you experienced a problem, and then you said, we're going to build a business to address that problem. So that's quite a brave move.
Yeah, naive, brave, whatever you want to call it.
Insane, crazy, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And how did you fund it then? How did you fund the business? Did you fund it through your own kind of balance sheet, or did you get external investment, or how do you do that?
Many different things over time. Our very first money came from an accelerator, who basically gave us free money. There were strings attached.
What, like equity
at the time? No, it was they had the option to get into our equity.
Okay,
that's what they bought with the money. And then we got another accelerator, which actually got some equity or convertible loans. Then we had the government giving us a subsidy to do a feasibility study. And then we had the bank giving us a loan because we were also in the incubator of a bank. And so very early on we got a bank loan, which is weird in a startup, but we did
like a debt financing kind of thing. Yeah.
It was a very traditionally structured investment loan, like when you buy a house for a company. So it was not some sort of new debt instrument or so. It's actually really weird that we got it at that point, but we've gotten many loans over time again, but then in a more logical manner. That first one was a sort of an anomaly, you could say.
And then I presume the revenue then started to come in, so you could then start to finance the growth of the business through revenue, through customer.
That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. Nowadays it's almost all revenue. We have some bank loans in between sometimes, but it's we are profitable, so we don't need a lot of extra stuff anymore. I mean, a SaaS business is hard, especially in the beginning, because if you have a consulting business, you just go to a customer and say, I can do stuff for you, and they say, okay, we will pay you, and you can even charge part up front perhaps and charge part at the end, whatever. That's nice. If you're a traditional software business, like consulting style actually, you can do this. But then people started going to a new business model, which was like where people would pay an upfront fee and then a maintenance thing. But you had to build the software first for them. So you build software, and you charge them when they buy it, and then there's a smaller charge over time.
Yeah, like a maintenance fee, support maintenance.
But then we got into a SaaS model where actually we build software, and then you start paying a small sum every month while you use it, which means that we get the money really, really late after we build it. Yeah, it's a different
economic model. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a huge investment needed in the beginning, which somehow needs to be financed. Which makes that a lot of SaaS companies just don't get to that point. It's really, really painful.
But now that model is the model, isn't it? I mean, if you think about 20 years ago, I used to work for a small German software company called SAP. You may have heard of them.
Yeah.
And they lived on the perpetual model. You would sell for $100. You would have, hypothetically, you'd sell it for $100. You would then charge the customer between $18 and $24 per annum with maintenance support. But now you get $10 a month, I presume, or you get $10 a month as your part of your annual recurring revenue or your MRR, don't you? I presume that's the way you book revenue now.
Yeah, it's not 10 for us, but indeed. So.
Yeah, I hope it's a bit more than that.
Yeah, if you have to build it on 10, then it's even worse. I mean, there's all kinds of. We sell to small and medium-sized businesses, so we definitely don't earn a lot per customer. And sometimes there's even customers still coming to us like, "This is way too expensive," and then we're like, "Really? What do you think it costs to build this?" And you're getting at this throwaway price, and that's partly because there's so much choice in CRM.
I didn't realize there was so many options. If you go on to look for a CRM system, there's 700 options. I mean, that's absolutely mind-blowing, isn't it? If you're a buyer, you go, well, which one do I pick?
Yeah, that's a big issue, and then people just pick whatever they see or something that is even free for some basic stuff, and then gets really expensive afterwards. All these kind of things happen.
Like a Trojan horse strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna name any companies.
No,
here,
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did notice with you, with your company, was actually that Product Hunt. So Product Hunt is well, I mean, maybe you got some quite good recognition through Product Hunt, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, that was very early on. Very early on. I mean, it was almost 3 years into our existence, but at that point, we really had to make an extra step to get more known. Up to that point, a bit before it, we did everything purely sales driven. So I would get in touch with people, show them Salesflare, onboard them, the whole thing. But at some point, we sort of nailed that. We put the whole thing online. You could pay with credit cards and all this kind of stuff. And then we had to get the word out there, and Product Hunt was an ideal place because we were targeting startups and small businesses. And there's a ton of startup founders on Product Hunt, and a lot of lovers of new products, which is ideal if you have a new product. And we launched it on there, and we were quite successful.
Well, I mean, for people that don't understand what Product Hunt is, how would you describe Product Hunt?
Product Hunt you could see as a sort of a community for people who want to be in touch with the latest product, who want to be kept up to date on that. Sometimes it's not fully new products or so. It might be a huge feature of an existing product. But if you want to see what's new, it's a really good place to be. So every day there's a list of products coming on, and it's sort of the battle for which one is the coolest.
Right. Okay.
And you get upvotes, and based on the amount of upvotes you rise to the top. There's an algorithm behind it which tries to prevent that people push themselves to the top.
You kind of frig the system, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or game the system, kind of thing.
Well, most of the products who get on there every day nowadays game it somehow. Otherwise, there's no way you can get the amount of upvotes they're getting organically. Definitely to get on the front page, because there's a front page and there's like lots of stuff behind that. You need to give it a little push. But the team at Product Hunt has also put stuff in place that if you game it too much, you won't reach the top. So
it's supposed to be like fresh innovation. It's like an innovation marketplace. Is that what you call it, or a product innovation?
Yeah, you could say so. And it sort of fills the hole that the tech publishers nowadays leave.
You mean the media, like TechCrunch?
The media, if you follow TechCrunch or whatever, you'll only hear about the latest funding rounds. You will never hear about, well, there's this new thing here. So Product Hunt solves that. If you follow it every day, you see a lot of cool stuff passing.
Right. So in terms of, I mean, so it sounds like you built a business, you've funded it, you've grown it. I mean, I suppose as part of that kind of journey, you know, what we talk about on this type of show is about what we call peaks and valleys. I mean, obviously, you've already mentioned some what I would call peaks. You know, getting a business, establishing it, running it for 7 years is a great achievement, and obviously getting to over 2,000 customers, that's amazing. Really, 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 you know, I'm sure you're really proud of that. What would you say were other peaks, and what were maybe some valleys that you would share? Because obviously, what we have people that are in your role and thinking about launching businesses, even co-founders of other companies. They're obviously trying to learn through this show. So what would be your thoughts around that?
Well, we could talk further about peaks, but it's probably not the most interesting thing. I'll talk a bit about valleys. I think some of the hardest moments we had. Well, the beginning was definitely not easy. There's this whole period where you don't seem to be able to convince anyone to use your product, and then later there's a period where you don't seem to be able to convince anyone to also pay for it.
Right.
That was a really hard period on us, and we went into all kinds of directions. And the problems sort of evolve. Like in the beginning, it's not nobody wants to use it, and then it's nobody wants to buy it, and then it's like we can't get more people to buy it, and then it's like we can't get it to accelerate this thing, and then the problems always get better in a way, and all of these times are somehow hard on you, especially when it starts stalling the progress. When you can see the progress, it's relatively easy to keep believing, but when you don't, then often it weighs really hard on you. Some of the other hardest moments are when you almost run out of money and you need to find a solution for that. And sometimes it's really like very close breaking points. I'm happy to say that we survived.
Some close moves kind of thing, or some close situations.
Yeah, like a loan that ends and you don't have the money anymore, and then you need to find it somewhere else, or we're going to run out of cash. How are we going to still keep paying our employees? I'm very happy that we've always been able to pay our employees and never run out of money, but it's been close a bunch of times, especially in the beginning. Now, way less. Actually, we're quite financially stable now. But those are some really hard moments. And then I think a third category is hiring the wrong people.
Right.
Actually, some really hard moments are often people problems. Apart from the things I just mentioned, when you hire the wrong person or you have some conflict with someone or so, that's really hard. But hiring the wrong person is a very specific, special situation, because you want to move something forward, and you hire someone for that role, and you think they're going to do it, and you think they're going to fit in the team, but then you hire them and you see that one of these things is not correct. It doesn't pan out.
It's not working out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you try to make it work, and you're really pulling on it, and that's hard, but you still don't know whether it's going to work. And at some point you're like, it is not going to work, but you cannot just you don't know where the breaking point is. You don't know where to decide this is not going to work.
To where to draw the line, kind of thing.
And then you need to give the person a warning somehow. You pull it a bit further, and then the firing and the whole
how you do the transition. Yeah.
Wrap up after that, and then it's a very painful time. I remember getting sick even once from going through this sort of period. I'm not going to mention. Is that because you obviously because it was your company, is your company, and you take it personally. You're trying to work out the best thing for that person, but also the best thing for the business. Yeah. And for that person, for the business, for the rest of the team, for the customers, a lot of things come into play. But you really want to make it work, and then for the sake of everyone. But then if it doesn't, there's this sort of double thing going on. First, you go really deep to make it work, and then you need to go even deeper to actually decide that it doesn't work. And you got to confront it, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And what you talked about a few different elements there. What got you through? If you probably, I don't know. From my personal experience, I kind of smile at some of the things that happened to me, but I'm in the past, but I'm not going to cover that now. But what was your reflection? What do you think you learned from that? What got you through it, and what did you learn through that?
What got me through it, I have no idea.
Really?
What we learned from it is we try to avoid that it ever happens again. So it's really like nowadays when we hire someone, we have a lot of extra things we do.
Okay.
We get multiple people in the team to talk to a person, so we really check the culture fit.
Right.
If we can get them even closer to the team to see whether it can work, that's even better. I definitely try to have something together with them, to work on something before we hire them.
Okay.
Not just work together after we hired them, but before, so a little project or so. Many of our developers that we hired actually they first had a student job with us, and then we saw where it worked and where it didn't, and then hired them. Then there's a bunch of other tests. Like the last time we hired someone, we made them fill out like a sort of hypothetical questions kind of situation thing.
Like a scenario kind of thing.
Yeah, a scenario thing. And then a last thing that is super important is whether people can write. I don't hire people who cannot write clearly, because we write so much, right? We chat with customers, we email, we put things on Slack or internal communication. We write issues in GitHub. Almost everything is writing.
It's about communication. How do you communicate with people? Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can't do that, then it's probably not the right place for you, considering how much we rely on this, and considering how much time we lose if things are unclear because you do the wrong thing, or whatever, all the back and forth.
And are you? I mean, as a team, thank you for sharing that. By the way, thank you for going into that. I think it's definitely something for people to think about. It's about the kind of you were talking about the cash, the balance sheet. You're talking about the people. And I think the first one was about you were talking about the basically how you deal with people. Seeing the value in what you're doing and prepared to pay for it.
Yeah, that one was more about taking that next step, making progress. If you don't make progress, that's a really hard thing as well.
So just a quick question on your team is, are they all distributed? Are you like a virtual company, or are you all physically together somewhere, or is it a bit of a mix?
We used to be physically together somewhere all the time. Nowadays, we are almost virtual.
Virtual. Okay.
Yeah, in the sense that we agreed that we come together one day a week in the office.
Okay.
We just canceled the office we had. We're looking for one that is a bit more flexible. Actually, today we're going to discuss options we have.
Okay. So this kind of hybrid model you're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have a team spirit and be together sometimes and talk about things, apart from work. But then the working itself is quite efficient if everybody is in their own place. We can focus well. We're a software company. We communicate really well through all the things we have set up. Actually, when we're in the office, there isn't that much talking about how things are going to run. We have all these processes.
You're kind of quite mature in that side. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the day in the office is really about being together, doing some work, obviously, but I reserve that day for things I don't have to focus too much on, small stuff. And then we're there together. And then the other days I can really plan in focus work. I can plan in external calls and meetings, and it doesn't make sense to do that when I go to the office, because then I'm going to the office, I say hi to my colleagues, and I go in a separate room. Then I could also just stay at home. So I try to avoid that, and it's currently on Wednesdays.
Okay. Oh, so you kind of split the week. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I was just reading some stuff by Stephen Kotler. I don't know if you come across Stephen Kotler, the guy, the flow guy, the art of impossible, stealing fire. And he talks about Patagonia as a company. I don't know if have you heard the story.
Yeah, no.
So I think it's Patagonia actually, where they basically, I think their office overlooks, it's like by the coast. So literally when they have a good surf, they put, if they're in the middle of a meeting, they put they just stop the meeting and go surfing. It's pretty cool. So I was just thinking when you were talking, I was just thinking, okay, if you're in Antwerp, what would you go and do in Antwerp? So you could maybe create that thing where the Salesflare culture is when this happens, and we're all together. We go and do this. Maybe there's a Patagonia thing for you that you can develop for Salesflare. I don't know.
Good question. I'll think about that.
Go for a bike ride. You can go for a bike ride.
Yeah, we don't have that many bike enthusiasts in the company. Even I have this bike behind me, but I'm currently running, so it's more for my wife here.
Okay. Oh, is it? Okay.
It's on rollers. She can
okay.
sit on top of it and bike a little.
Okay. Well, anyway, just something for you to think about as as a CEO. How do you create the Patagonia moment? Maybe you have to move to somewhere. I don't think there's much surfing in Antwerp though, is there? In the port?
No.
There's no tidal waves there.
Maybe on a. I don't think they even do that here, but you have this kind of. It's quite hip nowadays. You get on a board, and then you.
Oh, the paddle board.
You paddle a little, but I haven't seen anyone doing that here.
So in terms of your business where you are today, you've obviously been doing it for 7 years. What does the future look like? What is your outlook of the next 5-10 years? And what are you hoping to achieve? Is there a BHAG, a big hairy audacious goal that you're trying to achieve with what you're doing in your journey?
Yeah. So with Salesflare, we've always thought about automating all the things that salespeople just what is not exactly their forte, the essence of their job. The essence of their job is talking to people. Mostly actually listening to people. Yeah. Finding out what their issues are, finding out what their context is, guiding them through the buying process or the sales process. And it's really very concentrated there, and everything around it is not really what they're good at. A lot of the data things or email communication in between or so can easily be automated. And I think that's going to happen. Actually, I even think that at some point you'll just sit in meetings, and even the note taking in the meeting will happen automatically and all that. And I think that's the future we're working towards. We started at the basics. And the basics are we first need data. If you don't have all the sales data and you don't have people using a system, then you will never be able to achieve that level of automation. So we made it very easy to keep track of everything. Now we are building automation on top of that. And for instance, today we released an upgrade to our email automation. There's a few extra features there that allow you to automate.
So are you using this thing called like bots and AI and machine learning and all that kind of stuff? Is that part of your plan? Because obviously that's the big hot topic at the moment about everything's got to be machine driven and everything like that, and we, for good or for not so good. But is that where you're going? Because I presume you can then try and work out a way of really truly helping that sales person become more productive and more efficient with their time.
Yeah, that's definitely where we're going. The technology itself is not the most important thing. So whether something is driven by AI or not is not really the point. Definitely, most things, even if algorithmic today, will become AI because then it can do more complex automation, and it can also start learning more and more. We started at like I said, at the basics, make it really easy, keeping track of all that information. And that is a prerequisite to be able to do all this AI stuff. Yeah. And we're integrating this kind of thing step by step, but don't imagine Salesflare to be fully AI. First of all, it would make too many mistakes. Secondly, it would have taken us way too much time to develop what we've developed today. But that's where it's going. Yeah, it's transitioning there, depending on how you look at it, relatively slowly or fast. I think definitely in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see systems that do most of these things for you automatically, like keeping track of everything, doing the note taking, maybe helping the scheduling process, suggesting replies to you, telling you this is a good moment to contact this person now.
Right.
Just about everything except the conversation.
It becomes like the sales cockpit. Is that like if as though you're flying a plane or something like that?
Yeah.
Or driving a car.
CRMs people used to look at it like it's a database, something you store stuff in.
Yeah, like a contact manager kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've come to a place now that most people see that it's actually it's like a sales tool, and I also don't think it makes sense to have a CRM that is not a sales. Well, I'll call it a sales platform. If it's not a sales platform, you're not going to use it. If it's something you sell with and through, then it will still be a database. But that database is secondary and partly automated or almost fully automated. You do your sales through it. That way it can build up more information. It can offer you all this kind of handy stuff that helps you to sell better. And this is only going to expand in the coming years. All of these little sales tools you see today, separate from CRMs, most of them are going to become part of CRMs because that's just what makes sense. To have it all together, integrated, building up data, helping you.
Well, I suppose the thing is that, I mean, I don't know if you've done the stats. I mean, because, you know, the small, medium business sector in most geographies is like a very large percentage of what makes up, you know, the economics of a country. Yeah? So I presume your market potential is, I don't know, is it 200,000? Is it 2 million? Is it 20 million? Is it 200 million? Is it 1 billion customers you could have in the future? I don't know. Have you looked at that?
I have no idea. Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, from where we are today, there is a lot of space.
There's room for growth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of that stuff that's coming up in the future, what are you most excited about in that context? What gets you excited?
Usually, the next thing we can achieve. I find it hard to be excited about something abstract in the future. I see it and we work towards it. But like the next thing we're looking at is a better way to integrate with LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, okay.
LinkedIn has been very difficult in that perspective. They don't want people to integrate with them
with their API kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's not going to be an API integration because they just don't allow it. It's
right.
going to be a sidebar you have on LinkedIn, and it's sort of going to read the page.
Oh, like scrape the page from the browser kind of thing.
Yeah, and it says Andrew works at this company, and it shows the company, and it shows you, and then it says, do you also want to get Andrew's email address? And that is in an email finder built in. It finds it, and it says, okay, add Andrew to the company, sure.
Yeah.
And then you get all the information. So basically, you can then use Salesflare within LinkedIn. You don't have to use it as two separate systems. We have the same thing in Gmail nowadays, but there it's way less complex. LinkedIn is a whole other level of complexity, partly because integrating with it is just a mess. But people really want.
Yeah, but is that deliberate? Is that deliberate by LinkedIn to try and make it difficult, or is it just they're trying to protect the data, or are they?
That's definitely deliberate to protect the data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to protect partly the user experience also, because there's a lot of tools on top of LinkedIn which have significantly upped the amount of spam we get on LinkedIn nowadays.
Right.
And they know that this is really bad for the the user experience.
Oh, you mean with these kind of the people that are kind of trying to like auto in-mail people and things like that?
It's usually auto connection requests, but
yeah, auto connection requests. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's you probably noticed that in the past, I think 2 months or so, you're getting way less of those, and they've been very heavily cracking down on things.
Oh, they really?
And you can only send 100 connection requests a week now, I think.
Right.
They put a cap on that. Even if you don't use automation, I mean, it's a lot, right? If you're not automating, so So that's things there.
Yeah, I suppose because I suppose for the thing that you're doing B2B SaaS, is that right? Business to business SaaS sort of solution. Is it B2B or B2C?
Our service or
your service? Yeah, your service.
We're a B2B SaaS.
Yeah, so I suppose given LinkedIn is like the Facebook of business, so I suppose that's where a lot of the data is about how you establish relationships and connections, isn't it? So makes sense.
There is a ton of data on there. Actually, anytime you buy lead data from any provider, like I want to have whatever SaaS companies in Europe or so, then it will be derived somehow from LinkedIn data,
right?
Because it's just the best company
most
database there
source.
is.
Right. Okay.
It's very comprehensive. Well, not very comprehensive. I think they have like 25 million companies on there or so, which is definitely not the whole space of companies. It depends who you're selling to. Maybe for some cases, actually, Facebook is a better source if you're going after restaurants or so.
I think it's about 700 million people. Is it 700 million people on LinkedIn, something like that? Worldwide? I think it's something like that.
I think something like that, yeah.
It's not as big as, Facebook's a couple of billion, isn't it? So.
Yes. I was not talking about B2B, so in terms of companies, LinkedIn has very good data on a good subset of companies. Other sort of subsets, like if you're going, like I said, after restaurants, you're better on Facebook. I mean, you better scrape Facebook, or you have someone scrape Facebook. But so it is a huge source of data. So names of companies, their websites, how many people work there, what they're about, all these kind of things.
Yeah, all the key dimensional data. Yeah, statistical data.
Yeah. It all comes from LinkedIn. Somebody took it off there somehow.
So that's something you're excited about some of the innovations in that for your business side. What about your personal side? Is there anything that you're excited about in the future on your personal side?
Similar, I think. I'm usually excited about the latest thing I'm improving. There were a bunch of things this year. I want to say. In January, I decided to become whole foods plant-based in terms of eating.
Oh, right. Wow. Fantastic.
My wife calls it vegan, but it's not exactly that. I'm trying to be more healthy, and becoming vegan is not necessarily more healthy. If you, for instance, have all these meat substitutes full of whatever, that doesn't really help. Then in end of March, I started running 3 days a week and workouts in between.
What, long distances or kind of a certain distance? Or
no, it's just 5 kilometers.
Okay.
It's not really about training
you're not doing a
race
triathlon or anything like that?
No.
Not yet.
I'm just trying to build a healthy habit. I'm not trying to compete in a race. And what's most important is that I keep doing it. Because the issue I had in the past was that at some point my knee would give up.
Right.
So I'm really building up very, very slowly. Although I used to run like the 20K of Brussels and stuff.
Okay.
It's not something I'm looking to do now. And what else have I changed this year? Some sleeping habits, a bunch of things, and it's just nice to make improvements here and there. And every time I'm excited about the latest thing, I don't know what the next thing is going to be. Actually, I also make it depend on what I feel like doing. It's similar when I have this. Oh, the latest thing I changed actually is I'm reading books instead of watching Netflix now.
Okay.
I used to read books in the past, but almost every evening I would be behind the TV. And at some point I was so fed up with that, and I said, okay.
What, you completely exhausted Netflix's back catalogue?
Yeah. Well, at least the good stuff. They have a lot of crap as well, but now I'm reading most evenings, which is really nice. It gives me much more pleasure. I learn a lot of stuff. I get excited about new things. But what I wanted to say is every time I choose what I'm going to read. I do this in batches, so I go on Amazon and I order the next 5 books.
Right.
But I do that based on a list. I build up a list of good books on Goodreads.
Okay. All right. Okay,
and then when I go buy books, I just look which ones do I feel like reading now. Like that, I look at it and I'm like, do I want to read this?
Do you feel a connection to it, kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah. And that may change over time, and it's not bland.
So what
in the long run or so?
So let's give you a recommendation. What are the latest 5 books that you'd recommend to people on the show? Or listening to the show?
Let me see now. A few of them behind me. I think depends what you're into, obviously, but I think Lifespan is a really interesting one. It's about longevity. In the sense that there's scientists working on how can we give people a longer life, maybe, but also a better life within the days they have.
Right.
So longer quality life. There's a lot of research on that topic, and this book is a quite good summary. So it's a quite entry point. If you then want to read more, there's lots of other stuff. But, I'm going to take a wide variety. I think if you're into blockchain a little, Out of the Ether or Crypto, Out of the Ether was a good book about the history of Ethereum and
Vitalik and stuff like that.
Yeah, and its biggest heist, how somebody stole.
Oh yeah, okay.
Tens of millions.
The hack. Yeah.
Then I really liked That Will Never Work by Mark Randolph. It's about the history of Netflix.
Okay.
It's almost as good as Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
What about the No Rules Rules one? Have you read that one by Ryan Hastings?
No, I don't think I want to read it. It just sounds more like propaganda to me than.
All right. Okay.
The nice thing about That Will Never Work is that it goes into the small stuff. It goes into what things went wrong, how things evolved, and all this kind of stuff.
It's like more authentic. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to read a book that says we're super great at culture and this is whatever. A very interesting one. I like this kind of rise and fall stories also.
Maybe Rise, Fall, and Rise. Yeah.
Oh, that happens also, but most of them are Rise and Fall. Rise, Fall, and Rise is more like the Netflix one. Is sort of Rise, Fall, and Rise. But there's great books about Theranos, for instance, or BlackBerry, or all good books. But the one I wanted to suggest was about long-term capital management. It was a hedge fund, I think around the 2000s.
Okay.
That was very successful for a bit because they were really great at sort of programmatic investing until the market started reacting in a certain way, and these people thought they were geniuses and just failed unbeatable. Terribly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale, and it's called When Genius Failed.
Right.
By Roger Lowenstein.
Okay.
And then the last one I'll suggest. I'll go for Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Okay.
To go
the negotiator guy. Yeah.
Yeah, into a whole different area again. I went to business school and we had all these BATNA frameworks and so for negotiating, and I never really understood how it could work. And this guy throws them out and puts them with the trash, basically. He says that's not how negotiating works. Negotiating is about emotions, and as a hostage negotiator, this is how we do it.
Right.
And he goes through his framework, which is way less sophisticated in a way. It's not
it's more humanistic.
Professors. Yeah. But it's something that does work. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's got a session on masterclass.com, I think, hasn't he? He's got a class on that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But he's basically converted the book into a masterclass online.
Yeah.
You get on your mobile. So, no, great selection. Thank you for that. That was quite a diverse selection, actually, that.
I like to read very broadly. It gives more ideas. It's less boring to read broadly also. Learn different things.
Yeah, look through different lenses. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I suppose, I mean, to kind of, some of my final kind of questions I was going to ask you about was about what are you most grateful for?
That is a good one. I'm not this kind of person who writes down in a journal every day what they're grateful for, so I probably think about it too little. But I'm grateful for a lot of stuff. I mean, I have a very comfortable life. I can serve many customers without having to stress too much every day, which is different. For instance, if you're in a consultancy, I used to do that kind of work. I would serve a few customers and it would be really stressful. I can just stay in the same spot on my chair. Sitting on a chair is not necessarily a great thing, but that's another story. I have a great wife and a dog. We're working on kids. Very comfortable apartment.
I won't ask any detailed questions about that.
Yeah.
It's a family show.
It's living in Belgium is generally great. I mean, a lot of people can bitch about it, but if you go to other countries, you see worse. I mean, I have good friends. Nothing to complain about, really.
Cool.
A lot of things to be grateful for.
Fantastic. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. So my final one was about, I suppose, about pearls of wisdom. So you know, hats off to you, Jeroen, for basically building a business, having lots of customers, having what sounds like you've started to design a great life. Yeah. When you have kids, by the way, your life will be turned upside down. It's just a bit of a warning for you.
Yeah, no, I know.
But that's in the future. What would be if people who are founders, co-founders, thinking about setting up a business, what would be the kind of pearls of wisdom, golden pearls of wisdom that you would share? A few kind of tips and tricks to think about as they embark on their journey.
I'll maybe take some of the biggest myths and some of the biggest mistakes we made. And so when you start a business, it's not about raising money, and definitely not from VCs, because the chance is very low that your company is actually built for the VC model. If your company is going to I'm going to almost certainly not, but with a certain probability can reach 100 million in revenue fast, then yes, you're built for the VC model. Otherwise, stay away there. It's not about raising money also. That's something that the press sort of
propagates.
Propagates because that's what they write about. What it is really about is about helping customers and doing that effectively. So the first thing you need to do is test your ideas in that sense. See whether you're actually solving a customer issue, understand the context of it very well, start building something small that can solve it, iterate on that, make it better, get a lot of customer feedback, and really, really take that seriously. It starts with doing customer interviews. Then you start building something, you start working with customers. You don't just, if you build a SaaS product, you don't just throw a trial online and then see what happens. That's not how it works. You really need to guide people through things.
Right.
Take them by the hand, understand how things work, and then gradually automate it, gradually start scaling. There's a lot of companies that approach us, like starting SaaS companies usually, and they're like, "Oh, we really like your marketing at Salesflare. How do you do it?" And I'm like, "Okay, what is it you sell? And then explain it, and then I ask, and have you sold it already? They're like, yeah, we have 2 pilots running. Then I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it's not the moment to start copying
Switching
our marketing.
On.
It doesn't matter. You shouldn't even be caring about that at this moment. The only thing you need to care about right now is getting this sold, understanding very well what your customers want, improving. And when you've nailed that, when you have 20 customers or something, then you can start thinking like, okay, how are we going to scale this? How are we going to market this to a broader audience? But that's really not the thing you should be caring about. So you need to take things very much step by step. Always figure what is the next logical step here. Prioritize that. Don't hire people too quickly. First, figure out yourself how it works before you delegate it. Because at the point that you delegate it, it's a bit like the automating as well. You're setting something a bit more in stone. It's less easy to iterate it, and you get less feedback. It's practically the same thing. So first, as a founder, you need to figure out how things work, and then when you sort of have an idea of that, you can say, okay, now I can let this go. I can automate it. I can delegate it, and you just let it run. If you hire someone too early, you're making it very difficult on yourself. And a very common reflexes, for instance, especially with technical founders, is to say, I don't know how sales works. I'm going to give it to someone else.
Right.
That is really the worst thing. Because not only do you not get that feedback and that possibility to iterate and all that, you give it to someone who doesn't know, well, let's assume it's a SaaS product now, who doesn't know your product as well. They don't have the same passion. They don't know the customers as well in terms of context around your product and all these kind of things. So they're naturally going to do a worse job. You first have to go in there, sell the thing, connect with the customers, and get the thing going. And at some point, yes, you can hand over that job, but it's definitely not at the start. And maybe a last piece, selling is not extremely difficult. It's essentially about 2 things. One is listening to people and really understanding what it is they want, why they don't have it yet, what is blocking them, what is attractive to them in the new situation they're envisioning, all these kind of things. It's really painting that whole picture and doing that for every single person, not beating them to death with a PowerPoint or product demo. It's really about guiding someone. So it's not about impressing someone.
Yeah.
And secondly, so this is about the empathy part. Secondly, it's organizing that at some scale. So keeping good track of everything. Like this person, we're there with them. We discussed this is important to them. I'm going to follow up then because then they know about this thing that is the next step for them. And then,
It's like guiding them together down the customer journey kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If you nail these 2 things, sales will come easily. And it's really not, you don't need to be a smooth talker or so. You more need to be a good listener.
Right. Fantastic. No, really good advice. I mean, I presume you are the business founder, by the way. I don't ask you that question.
I'm the business founder of it too, yeah.
But it was interesting point you made about the technical founder. You're saying that get the technical founder to be exposed to the sales process. Is that what you're saying? I think a bit earlier. Yeah.
Partly yes, but that's not necessarily what I was saying. So many companies just have a technical founder, and they may want to get some business founder on board, but they don't. And then they're like, okay, I'm going to get a salesperson, and then
I see. Okay. Right.
But it's often even with business founders, who don't necessarily feel like they're good at sales. They think like, well, I'm more of a marketing guy, whatever. It doesn't matter. Put yourself over it. Sales is not that hard. You need to do the sales. It's your job at this point. Do it. But exposing the technical side to the customer as well, I think is essential. And actually, what we do is we have everyone who's technical in the company goes through a support hero role.
Okay.
So they're they rotate through a thing where they're always responsible as sort of the sidekick of the person who's taking care of the customers.
Right.
They see all the issues that the customers have. They help solve it and all that, and that keeps them very connected with the customer. Yeah. They don't just
they walk in the shoes of the customer, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't go retreat in their comfortable developer corner or something.
In their little bunker. Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise they very quickly tend to do that. They're like, oh no, this is cool customer wise, but for my developer comfort, it's not really great. So we really expose them very much to what the customers need and what their issues are. Fantastic.
No, really good advice. Really, thank you for being so detailed about that feedback as well. I think that's some really good advice there. It's fascinating, isn't it? It's fascinating this whole journey. It's everybody's learning every day, and it sounds like you've learnt a lot through your last 7 years. And I wish you all the best in the next 5 to 10 years, 20 years.
Thank you.
Just think you built to bring. You see, when you have your children, you built to bring your children into the company as well. And you see, Salesflare will be this global CRM giant, tech titan.
Yeah, my children working there. I don't know.
Family business.
We'll see about that. That's many years into the future. So,
well, I wish you all the best with that, and thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you for coming and joining us from Antwerp. Know it well. Been there many times before, but that's going to be another episode about Andrew's antics in Antwerp.
Thank you for having me.
No,
this
pleasure.
Was really fun.
Absolute pleasure. So that was Jeroen Corthout, who is the co-founder and CEO of Salesflare. And all you other 699 CRM providers, it looks like you're going to have to be watching out. Look over your shoulder, because here comes Jeroen and Salesflare. Ba-boom. And that was Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. Have a great day. Thank you.